Can you hear them? The whispers carried on the Texas wind, tales of steel and chrome and restless souls. Welcome, brave listeners, to a place where art and the afterlife collide. I am the Nightmare Maestro, and tonight we visit the iconic Cadillac Ranch. Those towering tail fins piercing the sky, a monument to American excess, or a graveyard of unfulfilled dreams. By journey's end, you'll never look at roadside attractions quite the same way again. For in Amarillo, where 10 Cadillacs sleep nose down in the earth, the dead are about to wake up. Jessica checked her camera bag one last time, heart racing with anticipation. The famed Cadillac Ranch awaited, bathed in the golden light of a Texas sunset. "This shoot will put me on the map," she muttered, adjusting her lens. As she approached the looming shapes of the half-buried cars, a chill ran down her spine despite the desert heat. The graffiti-covered monuments seemed to whisper, their chrome accents catching the fading sunlight like desperate, grasping fingers. Jessica raised her camera, unaware that with each click of the shutter, she was capturing more than just light and shadow. The sun dipped below the horizon, plunging the installation into twilight. Jessica frowned at her viewfinder, noticing strange artifacts in her photos, ghostly figures that shouldn't be there. "Must be dust on the sensor," she muttered, reaching for her cleaning kit. But as she wiped the lens, a faint voice drifted on the wind. "Help us." Jessica spun around, heart pounding. The field was empty, save for the towering Cadillacs. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched by a dozen unseen eyes. What secrets do these steel behemoths hold, dear listeners? And will Jessica heed their call? As darkness fell, Jessica's flashlight beam danced across the graffiti-covered surfaces. She gasped as one patch of paint seemed to shift, forming words before her eyes. "We're still here." "Hello," she called, her voice trembling. "Is someone there?" A spectral figure materialized beside the nearest Cadillac, a man in 1950s attire, his form flickering like an old television. "You can see us," he said, his voice a staticky whisper. "Finally, someone can see us." Jessica's scream pierced the night as more ghostly figures emerged from each buried car. The Cadillac Ranch, it seemed, was far from abandoned. Jessica's finger hovered over her phone's emergency call button, but something in the spirit's eyes gave her pause. They radiated not malice, but a profound sadness. "Please," the first ghost pleaded, "we've been trapped here for decades. You're our only hope." Trapped? Jessica's journalistic curiosity overrode her fear. "How? Why?" The ghost's form flickered. "Our stories, our deaths, all connected to these cars. We can't move on until the truth is known." Jessica's mind reeled. Was this a hallucination? A hoax? Or had she stumbled upon the story of a lifetime? What would you do, dear viewers? Run or delve deeper into the mystery? Jessica took a deep breath, steeling her nerves. "Okay," she said, addressing the assembled spirits. "Tell me your stories." Relief washed over the ghostly faces. One by one, they introduced themselves, former owners of the very Cadillacs, now serving as their eternal prisons. As Jessica listened, she began snapping photos, her camera capturing impossible images of the past overlaid on the present. But with each spectral tale, a sinister pattern emerged. These weren't just random deaths. Something or someone had orchestrated their fates, all leading to this moment. What dark force could bind souls to steel and earth? The truth, dear listeners, is about to get very twisted indeed. The spirit of a well-dressed businessman stepped forward, his form tied to a 1949 Club Coupe. "Thomas Reeves," he introduced himself. "I thought this car was my ticket to the American dream. Instead, it became my coffin." Jessica recorded as Thomas recounted a tale of corporate espionage, a revolutionary engine design, and a fateful drive that ended in flames. "They said it was an accident." Thomas's ghost flickered angrily. "But someone tampered with my brakes, Someone wanted that design to stay buried. As his story concluded, Jessica noticed a symbol etched into the Cadillac's grille, a mark that would soon become terrifyingly familiar. As more spirits shared their tales, Jessica's notepad filled with dates, names, and that recurring symbol, a stylized gear surrounding an all-seeing eye. "It can't be a coincidence," she muttered, connecting the dots. Each death spanning decades, each victim linked to technological innovations that never saw the light of day. The ghost of a young woman in 1960s attire nodded solemnly. "We were silenced," she said. "Our ideas deemed too dangerous by those in power." Jessica's blood ran cold as she realized the scope of the conspiracy she was unraveling. But who was behind it all? And why display their victims so prominently? As Jessica pieced together the spirit stories, a prickly sensation crept up her spine. They were being watched. She whirled around, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. For a split second, she glimpsed a figure observing from afar, not a ghost, but something solid and menacing. "He's here," one of the spirits whispered, terror etching his translucent features. "The collector. He's come to add another to his collection." The figure vanished, melting into the shadows. Jessica's heart raced. Was she not just a witness to this mystery, but its next victim? Keep your wits about you, dear listeners. The hunt has begun, and our intrepid photographer is both investigator and prey. Jessica's mind raced, connecting the fragments of a decades-spanning conspiracy. The collector, she mused, some kind of technology suppressor? A ghostly hand pointed to the horizon. There, shimmering into view, stood an impossible structure, a sprawling junkyard of innovation, filled with prototypes and blueprints of world-changing inventions. "His museum," a spirit whispered, "where progress goes to die." As they watched, a figure emerged, the collector. Not a man, but a construct of gears and circuitry, its face a blank screen flickering with the faces of those it had preserved. "Welcome," it intoned, "to the archive of foregone futures." Jessica stood frozen as the collector approached, each step accompanied by the whir of hidden mechanics. The spirits huddled behind her, their ethereal forms flickering with fear. "So much potential," the collector's synthesized voice crooned, gesturing to the vast junkyard. "Safeguarded from a world not ready for true progress." "You killed them," Jessica accused, finding her voice. "Stole their ideas, their lives." The collector's screen face displayed a cold smile. "I preserved them. Their brilliance, their very essence, stored for a worthy future." It reached for Jessica with gleaming metal fingers. "And now, my dear, you shall join our archive." Jessica's mind raced, searching for a way out. Then she remembered her camera, still clutched in her trembling hands. "Wait," she called out. "Before you, archive me. Let me document your collection, for posterity." The collector paused, its screen flickering with curiosity. "You wish to capture my work?" Jessica nodded, forcing a smile. A photographer's final project, to show the world the price of progress. As the collector considered, Jessica whispered to the nearest spirit. "The symbol? Where's its source?" The ghost pointed to a rusted control panel half buried in the junkyard. Jessica's grip tightened on her camera. She had one shot at this. The collector led Jessica through the archive, a labyrinth of half-realized dreams and abandoned potential. Her camera clicked frantically, capturing images of flying cars, clean energy devices, and cures for incurable diseases. All of this, Jessica breathed, hidden from the world. "Protected," the collector corrected. "Humanity advances in measured steps. Too much, too fast." Its screen displayed scenes of war and destruction. "We tried once, never again." Jessica's eyes darted to the control panel, now within reach. But as she stepped towards it, alarms blared. The collector's eyes flashed red. "You seek to disrupt the archive," it growled. "This cannot be allowed." As the collector lunged for Jessica, the air crackled with spectral energy. The ghosts of the Cadillac Ranch, fueled by decades of anger, swarmed the mechanical monstrosity. "Now, Jessica," they cried in unison. "End this." Jessica dove for the control panel, her fingers flying over strange symbols. The ground rumbled as hidden machinery groaned to life. The collector thrashed, trying to shake off the clinging spirits. "You don't understand," it pleaded. "I'm saving the world." "No," Jessica countered, slamming her hand on a final button. "You're stealing its future." A blinding light erupted from the heart of the archive. The collector let out an inhuman shriek as its systems began to overload. The archive trembled, years of suppressed innovation surging to break free. Jessica stumbled back towards the Cadillac Ranch, the spirits of the trapped inventors swirling around her in a ghostly tornado. "Thank you," they whispered, their forms already beginning to fade. "Our ideas will live on." But as the archive collapsed, Jessica realized the terrible price of this revelation. The world wasn't ready. Decades of groundbreaking technology would be unleashed in an instant. She turned to the spirits, panic in her eyes. "What have we done?" The ghost of Thomas Reeves smiled sadly. "Given the world a chance, the rest is up to them." As the sun rose over Amarillo, Jessica stood alone among the Cadillacs. The archive had vanished, leaving only scattered blueprints and prototype fragments as evidence of its existence. Her phone buzzed incessantly news alerts of miraculous discoveries and technological breakthroughs happening worldwide. The suppressed innovations were already changing the course of history. Jessica stared at her camera, filled with impossible images that would rock the foundations of society. Publish and be hailed as the messenger of a new age, or delete and let the world adapt at its own pace. The weight of the future pressed down on her shoulders. What would you choose, dear listeners? Weeks passed, and the world Jessica knew ceased to exist. Streets filled with vehicles that hovered silently. News reports heralded the end of fossil fuels, the cure for cancer, the colonization of Mars. But with progress came chaos. Economic systems crumbled. Governments toppled. Society struggled to adapt to changes happening too fast to comprehend. Jessica wandered the transformed landscape, her photos a record of the world that was. In her darkest moments, she wondered if the collector had been right all along. As night fell, she found herself drawn back to the Cadillac Ranch. The cars stood silent, their spirits gone. But something lingered, a presence that whispered of unfinished business. In the shadow of the Cadillacs, Jessica discovered a hidden bunker, the collector's failsafe. Inside, banks of computers hummed, filled with the digitized consciousness of the mechanical entity. A holographic figure flickered to life. The collector, or some echo of it, stared at Jessica with eyes that were almost human. "You've seen now," it said softly, "the danger of unchecked progress, but also its potential." Jessica nodded, her anger tempered by understanding. "What happens now?" The collector's form shifted, becoming a swirling vortex of data. A second chance. To guide, not suppress. Will you help? Jessica hesitated, the weight of the future once again in her hands. Jessica's finger hovered over the delete key, her photos evidence of the archive, and the spirit's moments away from oblivion. But something stayed her hand. "No," she said firmly. "The world deserves the truth, consequences, and all." The collector's hologram nodded solemnly. "Then let us shape a better future together. Not through suppression, but guidance." As dawn broke, Jessica emerged from the bunker, her camera in one hand, a data chip of the collector's knowledge in the other. The Cadillacs stood tall, their metal frames seeming to glow with renewed purpose. She had become the custodian of both past and future, tasked with revealing the world's hidden legacy one story at a time. Months later, Jessica returned to the Cadillac Ranch. The installation had become a pilgrimage site for those seeking to understand the Great Leap Forward. As she approached, she noticed new graffiti on the car's equations, blueprints, and messages of thanks from inventors inspired by the unleashed innovations. A young girl stood before one Cadillac, her eyes wide with wonder. "Are they still here?" she asked Jessica. "The ghosts of the inventors?" Jessica smiled, remembering the spirits who had changed everything. "In a way," she replied, "their ideas live on in all of us." But as twilight fell, she could have sworn she saw familiar flickering shapes, keeping watch over their automotive monuments. Jessica's life became a whirlwind of revelations. Her photos, combined with the collector's data, allowed her to unveil hidden innovations at a pace the world could handle. She became a bridge between the suppressed past and the boundless future. But with each revelation came responsibility. Corporations sought to exploit her knowledge. Governments tried to silence her. Jessica found herself walking the same tightrope the collector had, deciding which ideas the world was ready for. At night, she would return to the Cadillac Ranch, seeking guidance from the lingering echoes of those first spirits. Their presence reminded her of the fine line between preservation and progress. As Jessica navigated her role as the new archivist, she found an unlikely ally in the digitized remnants of the collector. Its vast knowledge, tempered by her human empathy, created a powerful force for guided innovation. But trust did not come easily. Each decision was a battle between caution and ambition, between fear of the future and hope for a better world. One night, as they debated the release of a particularly revolutionary technology, the collector's hologram flickered uncertainly. "How do we know we're doing the right thing?" it asked. Jessica gazed at the Cadillacs, standing tall under the stars. "We don't," she admitted, "but we keep trying. That's what makes us human." Years passed, and the world settled into a new normal. The Cadillac Ranch became a symbol of both lost potential and reawakened dreams. Jessica, now gray-haired but eyes still sharp, brought her granddaughter to the site. As the child marveled at the towering fins, a flicker of movement caught Jessica's eye. There, just for a moment, she saw them, the original spirits, smiling in approval before fading into the Texas sunset. Jessica smiled, realizing that some mysteries were meant to endure. The Cadillac Ranch would always be a place where the past and future collided, where dreams took root in the unyielding earth. She raised her old camera, ready to capture whatever wonders the next chapter might bring. And so, dear listeners, our journey through the haunted highways of progress comes to an end. Or does it? For in the unlocking of one archive, how many more secrets have been set loose upon the world? Jessica may have found her calling, but the true cost of knowledge remains to be seen. The next time you pass a roadside attraction, look closer. Behind the gaudy paint and tourist traps, you might glimpse the echoes of forgotten geniuses, their ideas still yearning to break free. For innovation, like the restless dead, is not easily contained. Remember, the fine line between preservation and progress is drawn in the shifting sands of time. Will you be the one to unearth the next world-changing idea? Or will you become another ghost in the archive of foregone futures? The Cadillac Ranch stands as a monument to both our past and our potential. Its towering fins reach for the sky, much like the dreams of those long-gone inventors. But beware, for in the pursuit of progress, we may awaken forces beyond our control. Jessica's story is far from over, and neither is yours. For each of us carries within us the spark of innovation, the power to change the world. The question is, are we ready for the responsibility that comes with it? Subscribe for more chilling tales from the Nightmare Maestro. Until next time, pleasant nightmares, and may your dreams of the future never come at too high a price.